Hi everyone. For our small group project, we're going to be talking about Saudi Arabia. This project is to give you a feeling about the Saudi Arabian culture, and the topics we'll be describing are the education, clothing, religion, housing, and the family structure of Saudi Arabia. In terms of education, Saudi Arabia has an overall literacy rate of 94.7% out of almost 29 million people. Education in Saudi Arabia is segregated by sex and divided into three separately administered systems: the general education for boys, education for girls, and traditional Islamic education for boys. Children may attend kindergartens as parents wish, but at age 6 they must enroll for 6 years at primary school. It is followed by 3 years of intermediate general academic education. During the final 3 years of free education, students can choose between continuing general education or switching to specialized secondary education.
Most standard homes have accommodations for up to 3 generations of families. It is common for families to live in these type of villas. In Saudi Arabia, it is common for the government to give newlyweds low-cost home loans as a gift, with no particular repayment date. They offer housing programs for foreign workers and their families in modern apartment-style compounds. Some of these compounds include pools, restaurants, shops, tennis courts, and gymnasiums. Rooms are generally large and more spacious than in the U.S.
The official religion that Saudi Arabian practices is called Sunnism. The law requires that all citizens should be Muslims. Any non-Muslim attempting to acquire Saudi Arabian nationality must convert to Islam. 85 to 95% of Saudi Arabian citizens are Sunni Muslims. Sunni Islam is the world's largest religious denomination, followed by Catholicism. Non-Muslim propagation is banned, and conversion from Islam to another religion is punishable by death. Blasphemy against Sunni Islam is also punishable by death. Proselytizing by non-Muslims, including the distribution of non-Muslim religious materials such as Bibles, is absolutely illegal in Saudi Arabia.
In the case of clothing, all women are required to wear an abaya. That is a long black cloak that covers all but the hands and face in public. Saudi women also normally have to wear a full face veil that is called a niqab. Foreign women are required to wear an abaya, but there is no need to cover their hair. Men and boys wear the traditional dress called a thobe, which has been called the Arabic dress. Men's headdress consists of the tagia, that is a small white cap that keeps the gutra from sleeping. The gutra, that is a large square of cloth, normally all white or red and white. And the igal, a double black cord that holds the gutra in place. Not wearing an igal is considered a sign of piety.
In Saudi Arabia, the family is the single most important unit of society. The structure of Saudi families are traditionally patriarchal, with male being the head of the household and in charge of the duties. Family identity is tied to the father, and he has full custody of the children. Men can have as many as 4 wives if they please. Women are taught to participate in roles that affect life inside the household. In Saudi Arabia, the role of a woman is mainly to maintain the structure of the family. Women are more controlled by men. Majorities of the marriages are arranged by the tribe. Saudis tend to prefer to do business with socialize with and communicate with the family members rather than outsiders. They like keeping everything close.
High uncertainty avoidance versus low uncertainty avoidance. Compared to the U.S., Saudi Arabia is viewed as closed-minded, making them a high uncertainty culture. They avoid exploring the unknown and stick to traditional views. Saudi Arabia's score shows its preference for avoiding uncertainty. Although it is interesting because these people generally feel that they have a low level focus of control because things happen based on will of Allah. High power distance versus low power distance. Saudi Arabia is a high power culture. They have high levels of inequality of power and wealth within the society. Individuals in power are considered privileged, opposed to the U.S. where employees and supervisors are considered almost equal. Saudi Arabia's high score on power distance illustrates the country's acceptance of a set hierarchy with formalized roles. Hierarchy is given utmost value. Superiors can have complete authority over subordinates. Centralized structure is the norm. Autocratic leadership is which subordinates expect to be told what to do versus a more participative style in the U.S. Even though group activity is typical, final decisions are made by a leader. Citizens do not have a strong political voice.
Saudis do not show emotion or affection in public because of the stigma it attracts. High tone of voice doesn't indicate emotion and is just their culture's characteristic. Emphasis is placed heavily on nonverbal signs. Saudi Arabia's very high context culture, using signs as a paralanguage. Haptics, dress, body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice is of high importance in the culture when communicating. The U.S. is a low context culture because we rely more on the meaning of the words and the message being directly defined for us. Relationships begin and end quickly. Nonverbal elements are not important. They value time much more loosely and take much longer to do things. Saudi Arabians don't see the urgency in things the way Americans do. This makes them a polychronic culture. They have multiple things going on at one time and can get easily distracted. The U.S. is a monochronic culture tending to only do one thing at a time. We value a certain orderliness and do not tolerate interruptions. Monochronic cultures value being prompt and sticking to a time frame.
There are some stereotypes that people have of Saudi Arabia, like the oppression of women. Saudi women rule their households, and they are treated with extraordinary respect. However, Saudi government is discriminatory against women on some aspects like guardianship and driving. People also think that everyone in Saudi Arabia are terrorists. However, the country has lower bombings and crime rate than many European countries.